Hey, so I'm Milton Washington, and I was talking to a friend today, and uh, she had mentioned the need for me to start filming myself and start telling my story on a consistent basis. Something that I've known for quite some time, but life kind of gets in the way of a lot of things that you ought to be doing, and sometimes you get caught up with other things. And but I'm somebody who uh, knows how to heed some good words at times. I like to listen, and I like to understand, and sometimes I like to take the messages for what they are. And so here I am. Now you're like, all right, Milt, what the hell are you going to talk about? So, what we were talking about in terms of why I need to get on is, because she says, your words and your personality and all that is a dynamic thing, and you ought to be talking to the public, and uh, and that is something that I want to do because that's something that I've always been good at doing. I've always been good at connecting with folks and ultimately inspiring them. And I have, I think, an interesting story that is a source of that inspiration and personality. I think I'm doing some things that are pretty interesting here in Harlem. Um, that is pretty extraordinary and very interesting. And I have a life that's pretty extraordinary and interesting. Uh, I'm looking at the screen, and yeah, I graduated from Indiana University, baby. And this is something like, I don't know, I think the 23rd of January or the 22nd of January or something, 2026. And we just won the 15 and 0 undefeated season national championship in college football, which is something that's kind of unheard of in Indiana because Indiana never had a football program like that. But I got a scholarship to play ball at Northwestern, but then got hurt and blah blah blah. That's a whole other little story. But anyway, back to it because I want to keep these short too because I want to keep this sustainable. So the short of it is this: I'm a black kid born in South Korea to a Korean prostitute, and then at the age of 8, I get adopted by a black family. And I get brought to the States at the age of 10, where I live a pretty interesting life. Um, and that interesting life has brought me to New York at the age of 32. I'm 55 now, and I am living the life of my dreams. Um, I think I know some code to all that. And part of that code that I know about being happy and healing oneself is, learn how to evolve first through the body, because that's the easiest. That's the easiest thing that most people know how to kind of communicate with. You can talk to your body and go, yeah, I see what you're saying, and explore. Uh, but once you kind of understand how that dynamic works, you can apply those learnings to higher levels of existence, spiritual, vibrational, emotional, psychological, um, and many of those lessons are true. They work as you further evolve and ascend. Um, and so I'm doing something here that I call indigenous fitness that I think people are going to start um, talking about here in about a year and a half as we kind of mount up and get ready to go out into the world. Um, but I also know a bit about uh, the notion of gaining command of self, true ownership of self. And you can't really truly own yourself to get full control. And full control is a virtual thing. It's virtually full control. You don't have full control of yourself. That can almost never happen because of how the environment can pull on you too. But there could be just that awareness, and that's part of command of self. You know what you can control and what you can't. But that's so valuable to get command of self, to know yourself, so you can truly love yourself. I know throughout my life, I know a lot of people that I've ran into I get a sense for how someone really feels about themselves. And that drives so much behavior in the words that people use. And me, with all the stuff that I've been through, I want to be happy. I want to be happy and not just kind of, put my head in the sand. I want to be happy with who and what I am, every bit of me. The good, bad, and ugly. Because, there's some parts of yourself that, you might have to just kind of hug and kiss and tuck away and lock away in the locker, and not let that part out very often, But you need to know that that's a part of you, Some of us have that dark parts of us, we've had it since we were born with it, Some of us, it was just a function of the environment that we were in. But don't reject yourself, Some of those darker forces that you might have in you, you need to understand that they are there, and you need to give it some love and lock it away, so it doesn't ruin your life and it doesn't impede your progression to your goals and dreams. And so through movement and understanding of self, it goes a long way of understanding and accepting yourself, and ultimately being able to live life with high quality. And one of the kind of the little, keys to that whole mix is the role of expression in art, in artistry. Whether it's just in the consumption of art and stories that can further light you up and inspire you and just boom, take you to the stratosphere sometimes, or really just move you. Or whether it's you just finding your own voice and your own art. Now all of a sudden you're painting, and as a result you're centered. You're calm, but strong. So art and finding your art, I think, is kind of one of those little keys to life. But through movement and really knowing yourself so you can love yourself, and being able to dive deep into self to gain full understanding and acceptance of self, very important. But then the final thing is, it's a crazy, crazy world, we're living in now. And it's about to get crazier. And I'm going to tell you this as we are, especially over the last, half decade or so, especially post-COVID, we see this human tendency to want to kind of contract and stay in the house. Listen, stay in the house so you can rest and rejuvenate and recharge. But, we as human beings, we're not built for isolation. And we're not even built for that kind of monotony. So be careful. And I say be careful and fight off those tendencies. But, the world is getting weirder by the day, and everybody's getting weirder by the day. And so you can't just emotionally plug into any and everybody. So be highly discerning highly discerning about the energy you keep around you, you know? And so I know I think there's a perfect model of an individual that you want to keep around you, you know? Obviously you need to have good chemistry with them, but they need to just be kind of good people. Number one, just good folks. And good folks tend to like to want to help other folks and do good. Good folks are usually kind of pretty open to things, Their world is not so black and white, so binary. They understand shades and nuances. Many good folks, can be very good at what they do. They have an understanding of life. They have the understanding of craft and profession, because they're kind of developed well, they're good at their work and they take it seriously. And like I said, many of these folks, they kind of like to help others. So, if you ever wanted some information on that topic, good people to talk to, good people to learn from. And doesn't learning feel really good? Not the kind of learning that you got to put your head down and just kind of take it all in and, and process everything. But sometimes just good learning through some stories or some answers to some questions, and with somebody who's able to connect with you and care for you just because of basic humanity and kind of enrich you in that way. That whole, movement, self-exploration to self-acceptance, to self-love with connection to positive community, that's real good math right there. Real good math. And I have a business that's all about it. We're still in our startup phases right now. And I think that's kind of what this piece is going to be about. I believe in, the strategic nature of especially people of color or black folks in entrepreneurship and how entrepreneurship can be one of the best weapons against racism because it can give you the kind of freedom that you ain't got to work for somebody else, and you can go and deal with the kind of people you want to deal with. And you might think, hey, I'm going to start this business. I'm only going to be dealing with all black. And then you might come to the realization, you're like, damn, maybe there isn't, every black person out there ain't got money. And, and then with the numbers and all that, maybe I just need to open up to everybody. So I open up to everybody for many reasons, but I open up to everybody because I'm looking for all those people who are good. If you are good, and you are interested in bettering yourself, Rockmill, ROK, Republic of Korea, MIL, Milton, which is a promise. I'll tell you about that promise later, maybe even next. But that company is, I think, getting ready to be a big beacon in the sky for a lot of people. That's going to give them hope and inspiration and immediately and dramatically improve their quality of life. So that's what this series is going to be about. And I'm just going to be, I just came and I just had a little something to eat and puffed on a little something. And I said, I told my friend that I was going to make this video and send it off to him before it gets too late and I get too tired. I said, let me go ahead and do it because I'm a man. I like to keep my word, especially to somebody else. And especially to me. And I try to keep my word much more than not. So, and if you want to follow along in this little journey and you want to learn a little something about me and my life in Korea and how that has created a vision for the type of community that I've always wanted to gather, I say follow along. All right. And, I guess whatever they say on YouTube, hit the like button, follow, subscribe, whatever the screen says down here. I don't know. But check me out. All right, y'all.